Hey, welcome to my channel. Today I have to talk about the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack. I am a massive Nintendo fan. In fact, admittedly, I'm a bit of a Nintendo fanboy. I won't lie. I don't care what anybody says. When it comes to Nintendo's first-party titles, there is no comparison with the competition. Like, Nintendo's first-party titles, they crush the first-party titles on the competition's consoles, as well as pretty much all the third-party titles, in my opinion. Like, the Breath of the Wilds, the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Mario Kart 8 Deluxes, Super Mario Odysseys, Luigi's Mansion 3. I could go on and on and on about just the sheer number of quality first-party titles that Nintendo has. Super Mario Maker 2, most recently, Metroid Dread, which is an absolutely outstanding game. So yeah, purely as a game development studio, I will always vouch and say, yeah, Nintendo's the best in the world. Yeah, I know I seem like a fanboy, which I probably am, but they are. Just their game. No other game developers put such effort into making such high quality, polished, timeless experiences. I mean, there's a reason why people still play Nintendo games more than 20 years down the road, even with the progression of graphics and technology. Like, there's a reason why people still play, Nintendo 64. There's a reason why people still want to play, the OG Donkey Kong Country games on the Super Nintendo. Hell, there's people that still play the original game Contras on the NES. But today, I am going to be throwing a little bit of shade out because, I want to bring a little bit of balance to my videos. I have to talk about the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack because it is absolute garbage! It is crap! Why anybody thinks this is a good deal is beyond me. Look, much as I love Nintendo and Nintendo's games, they do a lot of stuff that, I think sometimes verges on the borderline shady end of the spectrum. And this is one of them. Sure, I could talk about, times when they've shut down fan projects, but there's so many other videos out there. This one I want to talk about more because it's something I feel more personal about. Being that as somebody who grew up with the Nintendo 64, who loves the Nintendo 64, I have a working Nintendo 64 right here. Don't touch it. I kill you. My precious. Okay. But the Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pass is a subscription service, which is an added deal to a pre-existing subscription service, which allows you to play certain Nintendo Switch games such as Super Smash Bros. Ultimate and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, and a handful of others online. And you are required to own this service in order to play these games online. The service has been around for about 3 years now, and it's always left a lot to be desired. Nintendo's never been the best when it comes to online play, even going as far back on the Wii. And unfortunately, even with the subscription service, the experience varies game by game. Like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I personally, most of the time, can have a pretty lag-free online experience just because of my, having a really solid internet connection overall. Although I know for a fact that that is not true for most people. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's online is really, really good. However, by comparison to pretty much everything else, except maybe for Super Mario Maker 2. But still, it leaves a lot to be desired, especially Smash Bros., which is my favorite multiplayer game of all time. It's the quintessential game I'd want to play online, yet it's only marginally better than the online was back in the Wii days with Super Smash Bros. Brawl, back when the online was admittedly crappy, but at least it was free. It's only ever so slightly superior on the Switch version, and worse, you have to pay for it. Now, along with the subscription service, you had a handful to a select few NES and Super Nintendo games. So, at least for me, the annual subscription was about $19.99 annually, I think it is. Don't quote me on that. However, for the added subscription service for the expansion pack, allowing you to play Nintendo 64 games and a select few Sega Genesis games, along with, like, like I said, only a select few Nintendo 64 games, it's almost double what you pay for the normal subscription, and for relatively slim pickings. Even just at face value, without even getting into the nitty-gritty technical stuff, you're paying like $59.99 as opposed to $19.99. Heck, even $29.99 is more reasonable than this. It's almost double, maybe even nearing the triple factors in terms of the pricing range. For such slim pickings, I'm just, as much of a hardcore Nintendo fan as I am, I just can't see why anybody would think this is a good deal, and anything beyond shady. And the fact of the matter is that Nintendo used to be so much better at giving you access to, like, legacy content. Even back in the Wii games, you know, they had this thing called the Virtual Console, allowing you to purchase, you know, games, like single games, onto your Wii. And once you had them, you owned them. They were yours. You could buy, you know, Super Metroid or A Link to the Past or Super Mario 64, all this great classic Nintendo jazz. Now with the subscription service, not only do you not own the games because you have to pay to renew subscription, the games, specifically with the expansion pack, they're lower quality than they were on the original consoles they were released on nearly 25 years ago. This has been mentioned a lot, but there's input lag with, you know, controlling the characters of these games. There's graphical fidelity issues. You know, there's so many more glitchiness to these games. Performance-wise, they run worse on the Nintendo Switch, which is a vastly superior console, technically speaking, you know, than the Nintendo 64 or even the GameCube, the direct successor to the Nintendo 64. Like, these are games that are nearly 25 years old, being played on the modern gaming system, playing worse than they were played on the original consoles they were designed for. Like, this is poor emulation by any means. There's just no reason why a company like Nintendo, a billion-dollar global corporation, can't have a decent enough online infrastructure to be able to play games from the mid to late 90s. It boggles my mind. And this goes into a bigger picture of the Nintendo's online infrastructure as a whole. It's broken, alright? It's garbage. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be completely scrapped and overhauled, in my humble opinion. From the ground up. Like, I love Nintendo to death. But looking at, like, what the other consoles like Xbox and PlayStation have as far as just the online stuff, there's just, like, no comparison. It's just, it completely fails in terms of its online infrastructure in pretty much every way. Like, even to use voice chat on Switch, you have to download an app on your phone. This is like the 2019 to 2021 to now. Just, why? Just why? Yeah, this is just, it's very frustrating and very annoying that we're still having this conversation about Nintendo's online services this year. Especially for the Nintendo 64, which I love. It's one of my favorite gaming consoles of all time. I have a working Nintendo 64 right here. And frankly, why should I bother paying for this Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack service when I can just hook this bad boy up and it works perfectly? And why would I bother playing Star Fox 64 on Nintendo Switch Online with all that input lag, all that glitchiness, and all that other crap when I have a perfectly working cartridge copy of Star Fox 64 on my Nintendo 64? Why would I bother playing Ocarina of Time on my Nintendo Switch when I can already play it not just on my Nintendo 64, but on my Wii Virtual Console? I have this game on my Wii Virtual Console. Heck, even the Wii U Virtual Console version runs better than this travesty of an emulation. I also would have better luck playing the game on the Nintendo GameCube with the Ocarina of Time and Ocarina of Time Master Quest. 2 games in one. And it plays perfectly fine on the Nintendo GameCube. And it performs even better than it did on the 64. This is on the GameCube! A console that is much older and much weaker than the Switch. Don't even get me started on how I can just plug in my Nintendo 3DS and just play Ocarina of Time 3D, the definitive version, on that console. It boggles the mind. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of neat that you can finally play against Mario Kart 64 or whatever online, but why bother when, the online's just gonna suck? Yeah. Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack is just complete crap. And I say that as a massive Nintendo fanboy. I say that as somebody that, admittedly probably simps for Nintendo quite a lot. And I say this as somebody, this isn't meant to, provoke a bunch of, Nintendo haters, Nintendo hating reactions. I say this because I love Nintendo. I want Nintendo to succeed, to be the best company that they can possibly be. I want them to, always find ways to be better and better. And, it's sort of a weird dichotomy because looking purely at their games have never, ever been better than they are now, in my opinion. There's never been just an open world game as good as Breath of the Wild. There's never been a 3D platformer as polished, as refined, just as pure fun as Super Mario Odyssey. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is my favorite, probably, multiplayer game of all time. I love the Nintendo Switch. It is probably by far, it's my favorite console since the GameCube. Maybe even, it's a pretty good contender for one of my favorite consoles of all time. But that doesn't mean I'm just gonna, just blindly follow, like a robot, everything Nintendo does and be like, yes, Master Nintendo, I will buy this. I will show for you on every front. No, I'm not about that either. At the end of the day, I always have to separate Nintendo the game developer from Nintendo the corporation. Nintendo the game developer, I love to death. Nintendo the corporation is, well, they're a corporation. Their job is to make money. And there's nothing wrong with that. If Nintendo wants more of my money, I'm more than happy. But actually give me something for more of this money, Look, Nintendo, I want to support you, but you have to make quality products to get my money, You got my money hand over fist with Metroid Dread, and that game is worth every penny. I haven't even finished the game yet, and it is already in my top 3 favorite Metroid games of all time. The only 2D Metroid game so far that still rivals it is Super Metroid. So yeah, I love giving you my money when it comes to that, but if you want me to pay for this expansion pass service to play old games, most of these games I already own multiple copies of, by the way, give me, something better than this garbage, this complete and utter unacceptable, just bilge. Just do better with your expansion pack, is all I want to say. If you're watching this and you've never played some of these Nintendo 64 games, far be it for me to tell you how to spend your time and money. I'd recommend you do your own research and form your own opinion. However, I will say right off the bat, if you have other avenues, there are other ways to play these classic games and play them better. And I'm mainly talking about Nintendo 64 because I'm not as big on Sega, so I'm not as in the know when it comes to Genesis games. But if you can actually find a classic Nintendo 64, for a decent enough price, go. I'd say just go buy it. Honestly, apart from the fact that you're probably getting more playable versions of the games, it's just a cool collector's item. And I don't know, depending on where you live in the United States, you might even be able to find some secondhand video game stores where you can buy these games for much less money than you might spend on eBay or Amazon or Craigslist or something like that. If you have unfortunately, the Wii Virtual Console, was discontinued a few years back, which sucks. If you have the Wii U, yeah, you can buy some of these great classic games on the Wii U. I have Donkey Kong 64 on my Wii U Virtual Console. If you have a 3DS, you know, don't bother playing Ocarina, and you haven't played Ocarina of Time, just buy Ocarina of Time 3D, because that game, the 3DS version is amazing, and it's just the definitive version of one of the greatest video games of all time. So yeah, today was a little bit of me, you know, being angry! But, you know, yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. Despite me talking about something that's not that fun to talk about, the expansion pack, I actually had fun doing this video, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, this is constructive criticism, because I love Nintendo. I want them to be the best company they can be. And that's why I'm making this video. That's why we're making this video. So yeah, Nintendo, I hope they fix the online service and give us better emulations of some of these games. Probably won't happen, but you know, hope springs eternal. That's all I gotta say for now. Y'all have a lovely, lovely day. Peace out.